I thought the worst thing that could happen at my garage party was a noise complaint. But when she screamed, "I'm calling 911," my stomach dropped because she said we were armed and dangerous. What she didn't know was who was actually inside my garage and why her call would end up changing everything on our street. It started as one of those rare, perfect evenings where life feels normal again. My name's Ion, and I live in a quiet HOA neighborhood where lawns look like they're measured with rulers and holiday lights have approved colors. I'm not even exaggerating. Our HOA newsletter once scolded someone for a non-compliant welcome mat. I'm usually careful. I keep my trash cans hidden. I trim my hedges. I even wave at the patrol guy like we're friends. But that Friday, my little brother Samir had just gotten back from out of town, and my cousin Bilal, who's basically the party planning engine of our family, said, "Bro, do it in the garage. Low-key, just food, music, people you trust." Garage parties are a sacred thing where I'm from. You're not trying to go wild. You're trying to laugh too loud, eat too much, and pretend adulthood isn't constantly charging you late fees. So I cleaned. I cleared the garage like I was staging it for a home show. I rolled the cars out, swept the floor, hung 2 cheap LED strips, set up folding chairs, and placed a big cooler right by the side door. I kept the main garage door half open for airflow because it was warm and we were grilling. By 7:30, people started trickling in, and here's the detail that makes this whole story feel unreal. Most of the people coming weren't random buddies from work or neighbors. Samir had invited his training friends. I didn't ask too many questions because Samir can be vague in that annoying way younger siblings are. He just said, "They're good people. They don't drink stupid. They'll help clean." Training friends sounded like gym guys. It was not gym guys. The first hint came when this tall dude walked in wearing a plain black tee and jeans, but he moved like he was scanning the room without meaning to. He smiled, shook my hand, and said, "Thanks for having us, man." Then 2 more showed up with the same calm vibe, friendly, but alert in a way that made my brain go, "Why do they all stand like that?" Bal leaned close to me and whispered, "Why your brother's friends look like they could arrest sadness." I laughed, but I noticed it too. Still, the night was going great. Music was playing, nothing crazy, just a playlist. The grill was popping, someone brought samosas and wings, people were joking, telling stories, roasting Samir for the haircut he thought was fresh. And then the HOA queen herself appeared. Her real name is Winda, but everyone on our block calls her Karen because she's earned it like a badge. She's the kind of person who walks her dog with a clipboard energy. If you park a little crooked, she'll take a photo like it's a crime scene. She once told my mom that our curtains were too dark and aggressive. Curtains. Anyway, I saw her shadow first, standing at the edge of my driveway, like she'd materialized out of the rules handbook. She didn't wave, she didn't smile. She just looked at my half-open garage door like it was personally insulting her. I stepped out with a paper plate in my hand. "Hey, Linda, everything okay?" She pointed at the garage like I was running a nightclub. "Do you have a permit for this gathering?" I actually blinked. "A permit?" She said, "Your garage door is open. You have people inside, music. That's a violation of community standards." I tried to keep it respectful because my mom always says, "Don't argue with someone who enjoys arguing." I said, "It's just family and friends. We'll be done by 10. Her eyes slid past me straight into my garage. She spotted the cooler and her face tightened like she just found evidence. "What's in that cooler? Drinks, ice, food?" I felt ridiculous saying it. Then she did something that still makes my skin crawl. She walked closer, craned her neck like she was trying to count heads, and said, "How many people are in there? This looks excessive." Behind me, I heard laughter, someone telling a story, and for some reason, that laughter made her angrier. She looked at me and said, "I'm going to need you to shut this down." Now, I'm not a confrontational guy, but something in me snapped. Not loudly, just quietly. I said, "I'm not shutting it down. We're not hurting anyone." Her lips pinched. "Then I'll handle it." She turned and marched back towards the sidewalk, pulling her phone out like a gun. Bal came outside, wiping his hands with a napkin. "That her again?" "Yep." He watched Linda Speedu walk away and said, "Bro, she's going to call somebody." I said, Hotline, maybe." Bal shook his head. "No, she's doing the dramatic thing." I went back in the garage trying to shake it off. Samir was laughing with his friends, and the tall dude who'd arrived first, his name was Marcus, was telling a funny story about someone locking themselves out of their car while holding their keys. Everyone was cracking up. I leaned to Samir and whispered, "Who are your training friends exactly?" Samir grinned like he'd been waiting for me to ask. Oh, most of them are cops? I swear my brain froze for a full second. What? He nodded casually like he'd told me they were accountants. Yeah, off duty. We finished a long week. They wanted somewhere chill. I looked around the garage again and suddenly everything clicked. The posture, the calm, the way they clocked exits without looking obvious. Samir, I hissed. Why didn't you tell me this? He shrugged. Would you have said no? I opened my mouth, then closed it because honestly, I probably would have panicked and overthought it. Before I could say anything else, Marcus glanced towards the open garage door and his smile faded just a slight. He said softly, "Someone outside is filming." My stomach sank. Through the crack of the half-open garage, I saw Linda across the street, phone held up, recording like she was documenting a hostage situation. Then she put her phone right at our driveway. And even from that distance, I could read her lips when she said it. Yes, I need police. Immediately inside my garage, packed with off-duty police officers, everyone went quiet in a way that felt unreal, like the air itself had just realized what was about to happen. Samir whispered, "She didn't." Marcus exhaled once slow and said, "She did." And then from the street, we heard it, the faint rising wail of sirens getting closer. Not one, more than one. And I remember thinking, this is about to become the dumbest, scariest misunderstanding of my life. Because the woman calling 911 thought she was reporting a threat, but she had no idea who she just called them on. The sirens didn't rush in all at once. They hovered at the edge of hearing, like a warning instead of an arrival. Inside the garage, nobody panicked, but the energy flipped instantly. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Someone turned the music off without being told. Chairs scraped softly as people stood, not nervously, but deliberately. Marcus looked at Samir. "You didn't say she called 911 for real." Samir's face had gone pale. "I thought she'd just threaten it." "She does that." Another guy, shorter, older, calm in a way that felt practiced, checked his watch and said, "Okay, phones away, hands visible. Let's not make this weird." That sentence alone made my heart race. I suddenly became very aware of how my harmless garage party probably looked from the outside. Open door, group of men, laughter cut off, suddenly, cooler near the entrance, and now silence. I stepped outside again because someone had to. Linda was standing halfway down the sidewalk, arms crossed, phone still up, filming like she was directing a documentary called Neighborhood Under Siege. I raised my hands a little, not surrender, just peace. "Linda," I said, keeping my voice steady, "calling 911 is a bit much, don't you think?" She smiled. Actually smiled. I told them everything, she said, about the gathering, about the alcohol, about the suspicious behavior. My chest tightened. Suspicious how? "You tell me," she snapped. "Why are there so many men in your garage? Why are they watching the street? Why did one of them shut the door when I walked by earlier?" "That's not," I said, armed. She interrupted louder now. "I said I felt unsafe." That word, unsafe. She loved it. A neighbor 2 houses down peeked out from behind their curtains. Another opened their front door and froze when they saw Linda recording. The sirens grew louder. Linda tilted her phone so it was pointed directly at my face. "Smile," she said. "This is for the HOA group chat." Behind me, Marcus stepped just into the doorway, hands open, posture relaxed. "Ma'am," he said calmly, "everything here is fine." She spun on him like she'd been waiting for that moment. "Don't talk to me," she snapped. "I'm not dealing with you people. The police are on their way." Marcus nodded slowly. "Yes, we know." Something about his tone made her pause just for half a second. Then she doubled down. "I hope you're all ready because when they get here, I'm telling them exactly what I saw." "What did you see?" I asked. She lifted her chin. "Men behaving suspiciously, possible weapons, an illegal gathering, and an uncooperative homeowner." She said it like she was reading bullet points off a script. I wanted to scream, but instead I felt something colder settle in because she wasn't confused. She was enjoying this. The first police car turned onto our street, then another, lights flashing red and blue across perfectly trimmed lawns and identical mailboxes. Linda's smile grew wider with every reflection of light. "Oh, good," she said softly. "Back up." The cars pulled up fast, doors opening almost immediately. Officers stepped out, hands near their belts, eyes scanning. "Everyone inside the garage," one of them shouted. "Keep your hands where we can see them." Inside, every single person obeyed instantly. Hands went up. No hesitation, no arguments. I'd never seen such clean compliance in my life. Linda's head snapped toward the garage. "See?" she said loudly. "Look how guilty they look." One officer approached her. "Ma'am, did you make the call?" "Yes," she said proudly. "I feared for my safety." He nodded. "Okay, we're going to sort this out." Another officer approached me. "Sir, are you the homeowner?" "Yes." "What's going on tonight? Family and friends? Small gathering?" He glanced past me into the garage. Really looked this time. His eyes moved from face to face. Then something changed. Not panic, not confusion. Recognition. His posture shifted. "Marcus," he said slowly. Marcus lowered his hands just enough to nod. "Evening, Jake." Silence hit the street like a dropped glass. Jake blinked. "What are you doing here?" "Barbecue off duty." Another officer leaned in. "Wait, that's Louise. And wait, is that Chen?" One by one, names started passing between officers. The tension didn't explode. It evaporated. Radios crackled as officers quietly updated dispatch. "Yeah, situation's under control." False alarm. Linda noticed something was wrong. "What's happening?" she demanded. "Why are you chatting?" Jake turned to Linda. "Ma'am, these individuals are law enforcement." Her smile froze. "It what?" "Off-duty police officers," he repeated. Her phone dipped slightly for the first time. "That's not possible," she said. "They looked like what?" Jake asked. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. The street was dead quiet now. Neighbors fully outside, phones out watching. Linda swallowed. "Well," she said stiffly, lifting her phone again. "Even so, this gathering still violates HOA rules." Marcus stepped forward just a bit, voice calm but firm. "Ma'am," he said, "you called 911 and claimed we were armed and dangerous." She laughed nervously. "I was being cautious." Jake's expression hardened. "That's not how emergency services work." Linda's eyes darted between the officers, the neighbors, the flashing lights. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked unsure. And that's when the senior officer arrived. He stepped out of the last car, surveyed the scene, and asked one simple question that made Linda's face drain of color. "Who reported this, and why?" The senior officer didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The way he stood, hands resting calmly on his belt, eyes moving slowly from the garage to the crowd of neighbors, made the entire street feel smaller. Linda straightened up like she was about to give a presentation. "I did," she said quickly, "for safety reasons." He nodded once. "Okay, walk me through exactly what made you call 911. She gestured wildly. A large gathering, men loitering in a garage, alcohol, aggressive body language. I felt threatened. The officer glanced at her. "Marcus, anyone drinking?" "No, sir," Marcus said. "We're all off duty. Department policy." The officer turned back to Linda. "You reported possible weapons." "Yes," she said, defensive now. "I didn't see them, but I assumed." "You assumed?" he repeated. She hesitated. "Given the circumstances." The officer exhaled slowly. "Ma'am, calling 911 based on assumptions is a serious issue." The word serious landed hard. Linda's confidence cracked just a little. "I was just trying to protect the neighborhood," she insisted. "That's my responsibility. I'm on the HOA board." That's when the twist hit. Quiet, sharp, and devastating. The officer nodded again. "We're aware." She blinked. "Aware of what?" "Your history?" he said evenly. "This isn't the first call you've made." Her head snapped up. "Excuse me." He pulled out a small notebook. "False noise complaints, welfare checks requested with no cause, multiple reports flagged as exaggerated or unsubstantiated." Murmurs rippled through the neighbors. Linda's face went pale. "I don't exaggerate," she snapped. "I document." The officer looked her dead in the eye. "Ma'am, 3 months ago, you reported a suspicious vehicle that belonged to a hospice nurse. 2 weeks ago, you claimed a neighbor was possibly manufacturing drugs because of gardening supplies. Someone behind me whispered, 'Oh my God.' Linda laughed, but it came out thin. "So now I'm being punished for being vigilant." "No," he said. "You're being questioned for misuse of emergency services." That's when everything clicked for me. This was never about noise or safety or HOA rules. This was about control. Linda had spent years using authority she didn't actually have, weaponizing fear because it made people back down. Tonight, she thought she'd found another easy target. She hadn't expected witnesses. She definitely hadn't expected badges. The officer turned to me. "Sir, has she confronted you before?" I nodded repeatedly. "Any threats?" "She films people, posts in group chats, talks about getting the police involved. I have every right." "Ma'am, please stop." That word please was the last kindness she got. He turned back to his team. "I want this documented as a false emergency report." Linda's phone slipped from her fingers and hit the sidewalk. "No, you can't do that." "I can, and I am." Neighbors were openly staring now, some recording, some shaking their heads. One woman, who Linda had once fined for a mailbox color, muttered, "About time." Linda's shoulder slumped. She tried one final move. "What about the HOA violations?" The officer looked genuinely puzzled. "What violations?" "The gathering," she said weakly. "The garage door, He glanced at me. "City ordinance allows private gatherings. HOA issues are civil matters, not 911 calls. Silence." Then he added, "And abusing emergency services can result in fines or worse." Linda swallowed hard. She picked up her phone, hands trembling, and for the first time ever, she turned the camera off. The officers cleared out, slowly. Handshakes were exchanged, jokes cracked. The street returned to normal, but something fundamental had shifted. Before leaving, the senior officer pulled me aside. "File a complaint," he said quietly. "Tonight helps your case." I nodded. Linda didn't say another word. She walked back to her house without filming, without lecturing, without looking at anyone. The garage party resumed, but softer, calmer. At the end of the night, Marcus raised a soda can and said to the quietest police call ever. We laughed, but the real payoff came weeks later. Linda resigned from the HOA board. It turns out, once people stopped being afraid, they started talking. And the woman who loved calling 911 finally learned what happens when everyone sees the truth at once. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Every single subscription motivates me to bring you even more exciting and dramatic HOA stories. And don't forget to tap the bell icon so you never miss a new upload. I'll see you in the next story where justice gets even more satisfying.